All right, this is the third video in the series of how to diagnose gen maps. And today I'm going to throw you a curveball. So let's take a look at this gen map. It's going to be pretty impressive when you look at it. Look at all the streams that Steve and Jill have coming out of their ministry right now. So that is very cool. But one of the things, as I listened to Steve and Jill, and these are fictional characters, now some of these gen maps may look eerily similar to some people that I am helping. I've changed some of the names to protect the innocent, but maybe not enough names. But let's say that Steve and Jill have been doing a great job and their ministry is exploding. We've got a movement going on, and they're kind of they come to the iron on iron, and their hair is on fire. What a great problem to have. Okay, so what I want to do now, because it looks like Steve and Jill are inundated with all the people that they're helping. And generally speaking, at this point in the movement's life, there's one problem. Steve and Jill only have 24 hours in a day, and they don't have enough time to help all the people that they're working with. So Steve and Jill have a full-time job, a family. They're working very hard at planting churches and making disciples and reaching lost people, but they just don't have enough time to handle all of these things going on. And so they come to you and say, what do we do? So I want you to stop the video for a second, and maybe you know the answer right away, but just think through, how would you advise Steve and Jill, or what questions might you ask them? All right, so you're back, and now we'll take a look at this. So what I would do is I'd look at Steve and Jill's gen map, and this is a new symbol that I want to give to you today, is identify the Timothys. Who are the people that Steve and Jill need to focus on? These are the 60 to 90 days a year that they're going to spend living life with these disciple makers and church planners, so that they can invest deeply into their lives, like Jesus did in Mark 3:14, and he chose 12 that they might be with him, and that he might send them out to preach. The with him principle, spending time with 12. We see that Paul did this with Timothy and Silas and others, and we see it in 2 Timothy 2:2. And the things which you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. So we invest deeply in a few, and that is Steve and Jill's problem. We cannot identify the few that they should be investing in. Now, as a skilled practitioner, you may see it right away. If Steve and Jill can only focus on 3 couples, because that's all the time they have, what are the 3 couples that they should focus on? Well, these things are looking good. And I mean, Corey, he's leading a lot of people to Christ. That may definitely be a focus there, definitely in the harvest. Ted and Rhonda, they're doing really good as well. Their gen map is probably not as marked up and as coded as we'd like, but they're certainly fruitful. Let's drop on down to Sam and Betty. Wow. Okay, they got a lot going on. Again, the codes may not be in there, and that would definitely be something that we'd help Sam and Betty do and get that going downstream so we have some objective assessment. But they definitely look like Timothy's. And then you come over here to Charles and Jenny. Wow, okay. They're definitely being fruitful, and they're getting to multiple generations with their church planning and their disciples. So if I can only pick three, the three I would concentrate on would be Ted and Rhonda, and Sam and Betty, and Charles and Jenny. So now right in the wings would be Corey here, just because he's being so fruitful with leading people to Christ. But if I can only have three, those would be the three. Now, it's super important that you help people identify their Timothys, because they are going to run out of time. And not only that, people need investment in their life. They need you to focus and zero in. And so we're looking for fatter men and women, faithful, available, teachable, and reproducing. And so obviously these three couples are at the top of the list. So on the Gen map, see, we couldn't identify the Timothys in this, and we're really helping Steve and Jill to do that. So here's what I do to identify the Timothys in my network with my Gen map. I either just underline their name if this is pen and paper, but here on Coggle, I just put 3 asterisks before and 3 asterisks after. Hit, oops, not enter, but just click outside. Notice what happens to the name. Bold and italicized. Ted and Rhonda are Steve and Jill's, one of them. They're Timothy's. So I would go down, I would do the exact same thing with Sam and Betty. And Charles and Jenny. I didn't mean to make it rhyme, but it does anyways. All right, so we have clearly identified our Timothys. Again, using pencil and paper, just underline their name. So now we can coach Steve and Jill on how to focus on Timothys, so they really get concentrated effort in the most fruitful streams. So are we done with the Timothy elements in this Gen map? No, because once we teach Steve and Jill about the Timothy principle, what are they going to immediately do? Well, they're going to immediately go down or go to their Timothys and talk to them about identifying Timothys. So let's look at Charles and Jenny. Who would be their potential Timothys? Well, you look at Kim, doing really good. Caleb, certainly Seth, and then you got some others down here, maybe Doug. But when you look at this, it's probably Seth, Caleb, and Kim. Now, don't be fooled by lots of streams. You got to make sure that the substance is there, and that's why we're talking about getting objective criteria put into the Gen map so you really know what's going on. But for right now, that's what it looks like. Now, Charles and Jenny may have very good reasons to say, no, I'm going to make Jim one of my Timothys. Again, you're not, you may give advice, but at the end of the day, Charles and Jenny have to own their decisions. And so don't strong arm people into making decisions. Let them make their own decisions. You're giving them counsel, not commands. Okay, let's jump over here to Sam and Betty. who would be their Timothys. Let's say we can only have 2 Timothys out of this stream. So Brock, he's looking good. And then Patrick, looking real good. And maybe Dwayne. Okay, so if he can only have 2, it looks like Patrick and Brock are the guys to go with. Again, we're just advising them and helping them pass the Timothy principle on to their Timothys. So Steve and Jill are going to coach Sam and Betty. All right, let's pop up to this last one, Ted and Rhonda. Okay, as we're looking here, Tim is looking really good, seeing generations, and Justin. Wow. Okay, so Justin, unless Ted and Rhonda have really good reasons, Justin would definitely be one of our Timothys. You know, to find out more about the Timothy principle, I've got a couple of videos on Timothy, so go look those up. But this is primarily diagnosing a gen map, and I have found that this is one of the important things to talk to people about. Now, one of the things that you'll see is you'll see people, they're chosen because they look good, they smell good, they run good, they work good, but they have no faithfulness, availability, teachability, and reproduction. So when you're coaching folks, you want to ask them if you see something like this. You see Ted and Rhonda has chosen Christina as a Timothy, but not Justin. You want to ask the question, why is that? Sometimes you'll get the answer, well, Justin knows what he's doing. All the more reason to concentrate on Justin and invest in him, unless you've just completely exhausted everything that you have to teach. But keep pouring gas on this fire. Okay, I hope that's helpful for another round of diagnosing gen map.